All right, good morning, Sean. Welcome to our third installment.
Morning, Bobby. How are you doing this morning?
I'm very well, and yourself?
I'm good. The crypto market's back up $34,800 right now
100%.
for Bitcoin, which is quite exciting.
Yeah, so actually, funny enough, that's one of the things I wanted to chat to you about today, because I've been following a lot of people online and friends that I speak to that are in the space. And I find a lot of people are trying to do this whole day trading story. They're all trying to, scalp in essence. They're trying to, find those lows. I did it for a little while. You don't sleep, you stress about it. I just want to get your opinion, because at the end of the day, the price has recovered, but I looked at the price at last time we spoke and it's pretty much exactly where it was last week this time.
Yeah, week over week, it is pretty flat for Bitcoin. It's a little bit up for Ethereum. But look, I think the day trading side of things, again, just asking my opinion on this, and I'll obviously give you my opinion, and everyone does have a sort of a different viewpoint when it comes to day trading and retail investing in general. But the average Joe does not have the capabilities to successfully day trade. You will have people, and again, like I'm gonna be super opinionated here, because I was a professional trader, and I've seen how professional traders make money, and they make money from retail investors. It is literally as simple as that. Not all of them, but a large portion of them do. And the reason being is that if you're following technical analysis, which is saying, listen, look at the charts, look at momentum indicators. You know, when you see these weird lines drawn everywhere on charts and all the rest, and there's RSIs and Fibonacci sequences and like resistance areas and all the rest. Like, it always works until it doesn't. And the thing is, like, emotional investing is such a big part of the entire sorry, while I die. It's such a big part of the entire investing experience that, like, you can't really detach yourself from it. When you're at an institution like a hedge fund, or even an endowment or pension fund, you have a mandate. You literally are not allowed to trade outside of that mandate. And the other thing is, and this is a weird thing to say, when it's not your money, you treat it slightly differently. You're less emotional. Like, if the chips are down, if you're making a bit of a loss, you're not as emotional to be like, oh no, I have to make this back right now if you're trading. And the positions are very different, right? You're generally not going out there to like get this ridiculously big return. Certainly not over a short period of time. So a lot of the day traders, like, they cut winners when a position starts going in the green for them and they start making money. They cut the winners too soon. When they're making a loss, they hold on to the loser too long. And it's just the emotions, right? I mean, if you look at CFD platforms, so contract for difference platforms, they make so much money. And it's because retail investors don't have the liquidity. So they don't actually have enough money backing their positions, that they just get closed out of those positions. Now, that's like the worst thing to ever happen. But yeah, in my opinion, guilty. You should not be touching day trading. Yeah. So, lots of people are guilty.
Yeah, it's funny because the platform that I use, they actually said, 70% of people end up losing their money doing this. And it's so true. And the worst part is that a lot of people probably have jobs or something else that they're doing. You can't pay attention to every candlestick. And that's the biggest thing for me. And that was it. Like, I didn't want to go to bed worrying about what the market was going to do while I slept, or when I woke up, or whatever it is. I've stayed away from it. And that's why I like the way Revix is going about it. But I think what's also blurred people's minds or thoughts is that these damn Dogecoins and Shibus and what's people are making money out of it. And I don't know if that's what's causing this whole thing of like, I can score big, I can get a 10x on this one. What's your view on that?
Definitely. Of course, the entire crypto space has gone from being a few $100 billion 24 months ago to now being worth $1.5 trillion. And at one point in time, it was $2.3 trillion. That's a lot of growth, right? So you've had a lot of people walking away with incredible amounts of money. The opportunity, though, like any other investment category, crypto is not unique. Like, sure, we've been in this bull run for the last, since crypto really started. It's been, essentially one long bull run.
It's been a bull flag all along.
Exactly. Obviously, there's been big pullbacks and all the rest along that journey, but you've seen the emergence of an asset class. Now, you don't see a new asset class come about every single day. So that's what's been really exciting about at least looking at the crypto space. But if you think about any stock portfolio, bond portfolio, property portfolio, I'll go through every asset class. Like, this is, again, like the CFA hat on, being boring here as the financial manager kind of thing. Like, if you're looking at investing in any category, it's a long-term game. The real returns come over decades and not days or weeks or months. And that's not a nice thing for a lot of people to hear. They want the get rich quick opportunity. But what you're not seeing with a lot of these returns is the incredible amount of risk that people take. When you're going and buying let's say Shibu as an example, or Doge, or one of these other cryptocurrencies, you're 100% in the game to potentially double your money, triple your money, to get 10x your money. But you're also playing the game where you can lose 70, 80% of that. So, if you've got the guts to take that on and you've got the financial capabilities to take that on, great, good for you. Have fun. It's entertainment. Realize that it's entertainment, but you can't treat the investor, or you can't treat managing your money that way successfully over time. I mean, at the end of the day, the casino seems to win more often than not. And you're like, if you are going to be betting on those kind of odds, then maybe it makes sense to go to the casino rather than just, betting on random cryptocurrencies.
Yeah. And personally, I like sleeping peacefully and not worrying about that. So it also, I want to understand, I heard you speaking elsewhere about how Revix uses its top 10 bundle. You have a, what do you call it? An algorithm that kind of looks at the top 10 coins. If Dogecoin, because it, during the whole Elon Musk bonanza, it gained a lot of market cap. Will Revix look at something like Dogecoin and bring it into that bundle, or does it look at like the actual, the real use cases like the Cardanos and so forth?
Yeah, so we are a passive management firm. So we're meant to say, listen, whatever happens in the market is what happens in the market. However, there is this element of saying, listen, we actually do need to protect customers. So when you had that Ripple lawsuit that was happening last year, where the SEC was sort of investigating where Ripple XRP's cryptocurrency could have been deemed a security and all the rest. When that was happening, we said, listen, we're not going to expose our customers to this risk. We're going to remove XRP from our bundles. And that's exactly what we did. Okay. Some customers were irate about that, but we believe that that was our way of protecting them. And if you're looking at, let's say, Shibu or Dogecoin, we have it in our bundle methodology, which is essentially a very long document outlining exactly how these bundles work, how exactly that algorithm is, how that works as well. Okay. And in that, we essentially say, listen, any meme cryptocurrency like Dogecoin that doesn't have a stated purpose, that doesn't have adoption, that doesn't actually have developer engagement and all the rest, we won't include in our bundles. And some people have been upset about that. Some people have been like, no, it's, it's up. I don't know what it's up. It's like one of those cryptocurrencies I get quite annoyed by, because I'm like, it's these sort of things. While, it's PR for the space, it's not necessarily the right sort of PR. And I mean, it's fun and whatever, but like, it's not really, it's not a Cardano or Ethereum or anything like that.
Exactly. I definitely share your sentiment, but I do know that people are trying to make that extra buck and stuff. And I guess, it's tough times and all of that. But anyways, so I wanted to touch on, because this also kind of looks at, there's been a lot of regulations talk. There was the Africrypt brothers story where they, lost, initially they said 51 billion rands worth of Bitcoin was lost. And I don't know, it's an ongoing story. And I just wanted to kind of get your view on this whole regulations thing, because I mean, you also, before we came online, you spoke about, the new regulations coming in South Africa. How can one know? So first of all, how does Revix stand out to know that if someone signs up or to any other platform, that it's a legit platform and not a Ponzi scheme as what Africrypt looks like?
Yeah, so there's some obvious red flags. Now, I'd never heard of Africrypt. And when the story broke, I was contacted by a few journalists and they asked, what's going on here? Apparently there's $5 billion, call it between 50 billion rand to 70 billion rand that's been lost in this hack, because apparently Africrypt was hacked. Now, I sat there being like, listen, Mer Trading International, last year's big scam, MTI.
That was the biggest one until now.
That was the biggest one. And well, until now, air commas, they only accepted Bitcoin deposits. So you couldn't deposit rands. Africrypt accepted rand deposits. Now, I can tell you, we have painfully dealt with each of the banks in South Africa. We've dealt with Nedbank, we've dealt with Standard Bank, we've dealt with FNB. There is absolutely no way on God's green earth that you are moving 30 to 50 million rand every single day with this bank. And that could be with any bank. So I just sat there and I go like, no, listen, I've lost gray hairs over this. We've tried to move, similar amounts of money over certain periods of time because of deposits and all the rest. And the bank's systems, flash red. They say, no, provide source of funds, validate where this money is coming from, and their systems are in place. My mom is also one of the lead devs at Rand Merchant Bank, and I know for a fact that these systems are pretty robust from that side of things. So I immediately was scratching my head saying like, listen, this amount is completely inflated. This morning, a story came out, and the amount that was apparently hacked was $5 million.
Yes, I saw that.
The difference between a million and a billion, if you look at it from a time perspective, or sort of using a time analogy, is the difference between 11 days, that's how much a million seconds is, versus 31.4 years, that's a billion seconds.
Exactly.
And that's a huge difference, right?
Yeah.
So you sit there and you're like, guys, like, this is a completely exaggerated story. This company, like, I've never heard of Africrypt. That sounds super dodgy. The guys are really young, and here's the red flags. Never, ever believe a company that's guaranteeing returns. Even if that's your bank, if your bank's saying that they're guaranteeing returns, it's not guaranteed. Like, let's be real. Your money market fund that'll guarantee you X amount for the year is only as good as that bank's credibility and credit. Like, what is their sort of liquidity position? Revix will never guarantee your return. The second thing is, look at who is on the board of directors of these businesses. Like, these guys weren't even on the board of these companies that they had created. They had shell businesses, essentially.
No.
And you sit there and you're like, oh my God, you've guaranteed returns. You've got some shell entities. This is already sounding pretty dodgy. And I don't know, like, you sit here and you're just like, regulators, what more do you need? You've had this scam, which, even though it is not $1 billion scam, it is still, well, from the optics perspective, still looks like $1 billion scam. You had MTI that happened last year. At what point in time are you going to come forward and say, like, listen, guys, here is some sort of a regulatory framework, or just here's a set of platforms that are reputable. Like, here's Revix, here's another platform, here's another platform. Pick which one you want to use. Just stop going to these random guys that are guaranteeing returns and that aren't custodying their cryptocurrency funds in the right sort of way, because that's the biggest risk as well. A lot of cryptocurrency platforms just use one of these things, which is a Trezor. I mean, this is my personal Trezor, but, like, you can't be looking after your customers' funds in South Africa in particular, just using one of these devices. Like, you should be using a professional custodian partner, like a BitGo, Fireblocks. There's a whole bunch of different providers out there. And if you're not using a professional custody partner, then, like, come on, like, act like a real business. And that's what the regulators essentially need to step up and, help enforce.
Yeah, no, because I read one of the first articles I read about this Africrypt story was that a regulator had said that we can't help because it was used in an unregulated environment, so we can't do anything about it. And it's like, that's hectic. At that stage, it was 50 billion or whatever it was, and you're going, wow. I was kind of waiting for people to stand up and say I was part of that 50 billion that was lost, but there's still, maybe that's why we're hearing now of this 5 million story. But anyways, let's just dive into it. What you were saying before we went online is the regulation that buying offshore is now a crime in South Africa. Do you just want to kind of elaborate on what that whole story is? It's obviously still developing.
Yeah, so the Reserve Bank came out essentially with a new FAQ on their website. And in the FAQ, you can go read it. Maybe we can pop it in the show notes. But in that FAQ, they've essentially got a line that says, listen, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but if you buy cryptocurrency on a local exchange and then move that to an international exchange, you are circumventing our exchange control rules, and therefore it's a criminal offense. And you sit there and you're like, you fundamentally, and again, this is my personal viewpoint on this, but I'm like, you fundamentally can't introduce a law like this. You can't say that this is a criminal offense without going through some sort of procedure. I mean, otherwise somebody could just wake up every single day and be like, this is a criminal offense, that's a criminal offense. Like, there has to be some sort of an announcement to the market saying this is how things are going to be handled. But I think more importantly, and actually taking a step back and removing emotions from all of this, like, where do cryptocurrencies exist, right? They exist in the digital world, which means that they don't exist in this physical world that we know today. They're not physical items. They exist on blockchains that are hosted on computers all over the world. Some of those computers nodes are held or are positioned in South Africa. Some are positioned offshore. So, like, the Bitcoin blockchain is interconnected amongst all these different PCs. The Ethereum blockchain is exactly the same thing. When you own the private key, which is essentially your key, your access key to cryptocurrency, to utilize that cryptocurrency on a blockchain, that's like the key to your home, or that's like the key to your car. If you took your key in your pocket and you went to, let's say, the UK, you haven't moved your car offshore, right? You've simply just taken the access point to that vehicle offshore. And that's exactly what we've been saying to the Reserve Bank. It's like, you guys don't fundamentally, and we said this to the regulator as well, the FSCA, you don't fundamentally understand how this works. Therefore, regulating it obviously doesn't make sense to you. You can't be applying to a securities framework like the FSB's framework, which looks after stocks and commodities and bonds and all the rest, to this asset class which doesn't exist with old share certificates and all the rest. So that's the sort of battle that we're facing now. If you look at BaFin which is the German regulator, or if you even look at the FCA based in the UK, at least they're more progressive, right? They've got people that understand this. You can talk to them and they go, yes, no, we acknowledge that, we get this. And in South Africa, we're like, oh, but you're circumventing exchange control. And you're like, well, let's just take the fact that exchange control is pretty antiquated and trying to prevent people moving their money out of this country. That's kind of weird in and of itself. But like, you don't understand the fact that it is already out of this country and in this country at the same time. Like, it doesn't exist in your little world with exchange controls. Yeah. So, from our side, we're frustrated. We're kind of sitting here going like, we want to provide a good experience to our customers. But coming back to the point that we mentioned like a minute ago, was just around how do you custody cryptocurrency? And if you don't use a professional custody partner, which is definitely based outside of South Africa, there's no custody partners that I know of in South Africa. Okay. If you don't use that, then how do you custody your cryptocurrency in a professional sense? So, regulators come tell us how we do that kind of thing. So as you can see, I'm kind of agitated with them.
I can tell. It's hectic. But, I watched, I didn't watch the whole thing. It was quite a long interview with the El Salvador president. I mean, wow. First of all, I was taken aback by how human and non-government, he's like, I've just taken my government costume off, so that he could have a just regular conversation. And he was talking about how mining works and how I was just like, wow, this is it. And you go look at Joe Biden, who is like 80 odd years old. How's he going to start trying to understand all of this stuff? Fascinating. We could probably go on for a long time, but again, like I say, we try and keep these chats down to 15 minutes. But clearly there's a lot to chat about. But thanks again for joining, Sean. This was really good. Lots of golden nuggets of understanding this. So thank you for coming on again.
No, awesome. Anytime. Thanks, Bobby. Have a good rest of the week.
You too, man. Ciao. Cheers.